So let's get started, see where we go. I never know how many people are going to show up for these things. So we had 400 people signed up. We'll probably have as many note takers as we have human beings in the talk, and we'll see how we go for it. But it's good enough that we can actually talk and see what we're going through. So say hello in the chat. If you need to run quickly, here's the whole talk that I'm going to make today. AI is a great thing if you're doing innovation, but unfortunately, if you use it for a bit, you get a little bit disappointed over time because it starts giving you answers which are too generic for the things that you're doing. The promise we're going to make for you today is we're going to teach you how to build a custom GPT tailored to your specific challenges, an AI that understands your needs, workflows, goals, and gives you more useful answers in the time that it takes to do this talk. The proof, we've done it before and we made it simple for you. And actually you'll get all the prompts we use to make a GPT, and you'll see it's more than just a simple, run-of-the-mill GPT. And the payoff is in about 2 hours. And here I was talking to somebody else who did it in 30 minutes. Actually, it takes me a fair amount of time to make these things. You can make a good working prototype. And in about a week, you could make a fully functional team member. So what do we got? So if I look at generative AI, one thing you could say is generative AI is about generic AI. In fact, the way that AI works is it's working in a way which is trying to give you the most obvious reply. And that means that when it gives you an obvious reply, it's oftentimes not giving you the most creative things that you want to find. And I'm fooling around a little bit with my screen here because I've lost you people. So I'm talking sideways, which doesn't look very nice. And when it gives you obvious replies, it doesn't give you answers which are very useful or very interesting. There's essentially two ways that you can fix this. One is by doing your prompting different, or you can put together things where the data that the LLM is using is different and the instructions are different. And we're going to focus a little bit on the second, but before we get to that, I'll tell you a little bit about the first. I have a Brazilian wife and she likes beautiful gifts and she expects wonderful things from me for her birthday. If I went over to ChatGPT and said, give me 5 great gift ideas for my wife, ChatGPT is going to give me back things that I've given to her already. A memory book, a spa package, a cooking class, things like that. In fact, those are the obvious things. Those are the things that aren't all that interesting. If you want to do things differently, you can run a prompt which is different, and that prompt which is different will give you much more creative replies. And the simplest format I can think of is the car principle. There's about 20 other different ones that you can look at. But essentially what you're doing is you're trying to get the AI to think differently. You give it a context, you give it a way of thinking or thing you want it to do, and you give it a result. So you might say, dear Mr. AI, you're a creative gift consultant specialized at understanding Brazilian women. If there's one that can do that, I really want it. Imagine your budget is flexible, timing is right, and personalization matters. I would like you to come up with creative ideas for gifts using something called creative combination, which is I'm going to take 3 related stimuli, 3 types of animals, 3 types of flowers, and 3 types of unrelated stimuli. And I want you to mix and match them. So you give me 36 ideas. And I want you to deliver me a top 5 list. Now, what'll come out of this will be 36 gift ideas of varying quality and interest. The one that I thought was really cool was something about orchids, because my wife loves orchids, and samba dance classes. Now, this is something you can do case by case, trying to get creative answers. But what you can also do is you can set it up so that the data which your AI is using is different. And one of the ways to do that is setting up a GPT. Essentially, what you're looking at is when you set up a GPT, you set up an objective. You might give it data, which gives it some insights, and you might set up some instructions. Now, I'm going to focus on creating a GPT for OpenAI, but in fact, there's Google Gems, there's Meta, there's Amazon, there's IBM, there's all these different types of these things which exist. But essentially, the biggest advantages are, one is you go from generic replies to specific replies. Two, if you're using OpenAI, you can share it for free. If you're using Gems, it's a little bit more difficult because you have to log into your account, and you can fine tune and make them better over time. Now, you might ask, what would I want to use one of these things for? Just recently, I worked with a guy who was starting a new job. And before he started, he was looking for ways to understand what the company's doing. What we did is we put together a GPT, which is all the data about his individual market and all the things that he might want to know that he's starting. That allows him to ask clever questions. It allows him to generate ideas. You might be kicking off a new project. You might be leading an ongoing project where you want to collect data and put it in one place. You might be doing different things. All of it comes out quite useful. And I'm going to give you an example. I must be in a Brazilian mode today. This is from an event I ran a little while ago. It was about ready-made drinks for the Brazilian market. And what we wanted to do with the client was generate interesting ideas that they could test. Now, if you went to ChatGPT and they said, look, what I'm looking for is interesting, ready-made, prepared alcoholic beverages, and I want you to target seniors in the marketplace. Give me some ideas. And actually, what ChatGPT would come back with is really, really generic replies. You say, oh, we want health-focused things. We want low alcohol options. These are all things which are obvious and not very useful. If instead, what we do is we create an AI, a specialized AI, where we talk about objectives and we put in some market information. And what we're looking at as far as market information, what's succeeded, what's failed, what do we know about Brazilian drinkers, what are some ideas, and we throw it all together into a GPT. We can ask the same question again. And what you'll find is if we ask the question, help me target senior consumers in Brazil, you will get much more specific replies. And the types of specific replies you might get is a tropical fruit, cooler, lightly sweetened, and it will tell you the risks associated with it, how you would test it, how you would go forward. And instead of it being just generic things, it's actually stuff that you can use. Now, it also has within this key lessons from past failures, things that have worked, things that haven't worked. And that runs like a little team member for the company. So what we're going to go through today is we're going to go through a chapter from my new book. The new book should be out in about a month. It's called The Generative Organization. There's 28 chapters. This is chapter 26 of the book. And by the way, you can get a free copy of the chapter. And what we're going to talk about is the steps to make a custom GPT. And at the end of this, you'll have three options. Well, actually, you have four options. You have do nothing. You have do it yourself, which is free. DWY, which is a new acronym I hadn't heard of until last week. We do it with you, which is a course we'll be running on the 4th and the 11th of April. And you have a do it for you option where we actually make the GPT for you. So let's start. Question, does everybody have an idea what we're talking about? Does anybody have any questions? You want to put them in the chat? Go on, ask away. I see here, Robin Davis, it's generic in replies because people aren't specific. Yes, that is true. What you're looking for is ways to make things very specific in terms of your prompts. Well, maybe what you can do is make things even more specific by the data that you're giving. Tiago, you're worried about privacy. I don't want to expose my data. Can't solve that one for you if you're using OpenAI. Your data is exposed. However, you can make your thing in Copilot or something like that, and that'll work relatively well. So what we have is a step-by-step process, and the step-by-step process starts with doing some research, about what you're looking at, trying to understand what your market is about, using that to define what you want your GPT to do. And because we're looking in the area of innovation, what I do is I help companies set up a true north. A true north is a story, an objective, and constraints, which clearly defines where you want to go. The next step is to dig a little bit deeper, identify things that are happening in the marketplace already, things that you might know about, update and refine. And by the way, this doesn't all have to be AI based. You can actually talk to real human beings. That's an interesting part. Update and refine. Then we're going to generate some ideas. We're going to throw it all together and we will test it out. And I'm going to take you through the process step by step. Now, it seems if you go to sleep and you wake up, something will have changed in AI since the last time you were there. We started writing this we started sending out invitations for this event 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, the deep search was just something on the horizon. Now what you have is deep search, which is available in Perplexity, OpenAI, and Gemini. You can say, look, I want to learn something about a marketplace. I'm going to go get all that information, and it'll give you an amazing amount of information. We also have a series of prompts, and we have a toolkit, which we'll talk about in a bit, which gives you ways to do this more effectively. A question for you. How many of you have used, you can put this in the chat, the deep search functionalities in Google or in OpenAI or Perplexity? If you just put something in the chat, say, yes, I've tried it. No, I haven't. That would help me get an idea where people are sitting. Yes, Perplexity. Yes, yes. Also in Grok. Grok has a new deep search. Didn't know that one. OpenAI. Okay, so it seems like a lot of you know this. Perhaps the most interesting one I did recently is I was looking at a negotiation planning between 3 companies. And I asked Deep Search to actually take all the data of the 3 companies, give me all the things that would be the objectives of the different companies, come up with some mutually beneficial solutions, and tell me where we go forward from there. Did it better than any human being or assistant I could imagine. If we want to start with this process within Perplexity, what we do is we start out, we say, look, I'm looking at an individual marketplace. I want you to collect a bunch of data. You take that data and you have a PDF, which you can upload to your GPT later. The second thing we have is after you've gotten a general view on your marketplace, a question you have to ask is, what do you want to do? Now, this is a little bit of a back and forth. So if you're going to start out looking for information, you actually have an idea what you want to do. And when you collected data, you get a better idea of what you want to do. So it's a little bit of back and forth. What we try to do is whenever we run a project, and this is good because it gets people aligned, but it also helps in terms of defining what you want to do with your GPT. We create something called a True North. And for those of you who remember your high school days, True North is an acronym which you can use to remember something. True is truly simple, a summary of what your innovation is about. And North is a series of steps that you go through to define what you want to do as a team. The first thing that you have to look at is a narrative or a story. Now, some of you might think a story is good for human beings, but in fact, a story is really good for AI because it gives it a context. An objective, what do you want to do? Restrictions, what don't you want to do? Tactical constraints, where are you blocked? And H is a place where here's some ideas to get things started. Now, if you look within an innovation team, the most likely mistake that's going to be made is at the alignment stage, which is where people are solving the wrong problem. This is really, really important stuff. Now, there's going to be a way that you can do this, and I'm going to give you a link to all the prompts that we run. One is you could do this, for example, within the deep search functionality, which is option number 2 here. So based on all the data you collected, please help us write a True North to guide this project. Make a True North based on the following template. and it'll give you something back. We also have a GPT, which you can go to. You can upload your market data and will help you write an innovation objective, which is clear, simple, and straightforward. Now, once you've got that, you got something from Perplexity, you got something that you've made from us, you're ready to go. Now what you have is you have a starting point for where you're going to search for information. And what you can do is dig a little bit deeper. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep on taking this data and making it available. And what we're going to look at is things like, what is the competition doing? There's a prompt which allows you to do a competitive analysis. Tell me who succeeded and failed in this market. Tell me about market trends. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. A lot of this will come out in your deep search. But when you look at more specific questions, what you'll find is you'll get to a much better detail in terms of what you want to do. The type of stuff you have here is a competitive analysis. You might have something about successes and failures in the marketplace, which leads you in the direction of what do you want to do as an organization. And then you have your objective. You take that data, you go back and you say, look, based on what I know, where do I want to go? And up until now, you haven't built your GPT. What you're doing is you're just collecting market data. What we have here is a GPT which allows you to update your true north quite simply. It's a 4-step process. Open the GPT, select review, upload your stuff, and ask it a question. And the question you might ask is, how can we make this more clear based on the things we know about our marketplace? And what you'll get coming out of this is a detailed feedback, which is actually, we have your objectives right now. We have the things that we might want to update, the rationale for change, and the key takeaways. Now, for you, you'd say, why have you spent all this time focusing on getting your objectives right? Because in fact, if you ask the wrong question, you get the wrong answers. Once you've got this in place, this is a place where you can speed up the process and things can go really fast. At step 5, we look at using structured ideation techniques, which you can do within ChatGPT. Remember the prompt at the beginning? You can run prompts like this for your specific challenge, which is forcing AI to think in creative ways. You can use lots of different tools and techniques. We put in 10 prompts in the thing that we'll share with you in a bit. But one of the questions you might ask is, are those ideas any good? We've done some research looking at ideas in a specific context for research that has been done in the US about generating ideas. We took the challenge that was put there. We had humans do it. We had humans using ChatGPT, and we had humans using ChatGPT plus a series of prompts. The starting point is nobody needs 5,000 ideas to solve a problem. What you need is you need good ideas. So what we did is we looked at all the ideas that were there, and we scored the ideas on purchase intention and novelty, i.e., are they good ideas, are they bad ideas? We drew in a line and said, look, how many ideas are here above this target? Now, this whole research takes me about 20 minutes to present, but what I'm going to do is just present you the top line. And they're on the far right-hand side here. We're looking at the number of top ideas that come from humans. It's about 1 in 100. Humans working with AI, we get 1.5. So we're over here. Let's see if it doesn't work. So we're looking at 1 idea per 100. We're looking at humans with AI, 1.5. Humans plus a clear target and AI get about double. And here we're looking at, with AI, somewhere between 5 in 100 and 8 in 100. Now, what's important here is it's easy to generate more ideas with AI. This is not the number of ideas you generate, but it's the hit rate on the ideas. So in fact, what you're seeing is with AI, you're getting ideas which are on average 5 to 8 times better than the human beings are doing for the same problem. Now, it's not like this for every problem, but it is good. If you'd like to get this, you can send me a DM and I'll send you the research over. So what we have now is we have a whole bunch of ideas put together, a long list of ideas. It could be hundreds of ideas. It could be thousands of ideas. We take that stuff, we put it together, and we make it available for our GPT. What we're going to do is we're going to take all the collected files, create some instructions, put it together. So we want, first of all, to define what we want it to do. We set the tone and style. We create our conversation starters, and we create our instructions. What do you want to do? Now, if you look at that, that takes some time. If you get our code of prompts, in fact, if you click on this one prompt, it will actually create all the instructions. It will create all the things that you need to fill in the details from your GPT. Now, the last stage, you want to put it all together. And basically what you need to do is to fill in the blanks. And you need to do a little bit of fine tuning. So what do you need to do? You add your knowledge files, upload them to your GPT. By the way, I should have shown where you make a GPT. If you look in OpenAI, you just go make a GPT and it will give you a step-by-step instructions. Upload your knowledge files, upload your instructions, put in your conversation starters, test and refine. What this will look like is you have the name of your GPT, you have the description, you have the instructions, conversation starters, and what we put in here is things that failed, ideas that were generated already, a market assessment, all that kind of stuff together in one place. And now what we have is we have a little GPT, which is all about the Brazilian beverage market, and you can ask it any question you want. And because it's filled with ideas, it will give you creative ideas. Now, just to highlight how you can use this and how you can do it, it doesn't need to be for an innovation challenge. It can be for different things. We did one for a hackathon just recently, which is about building biking habits. We started out with the same basic structure. Our true north is the instructions. The true north defines what we want the GPT to do. We added a whole bunch of knowledge files. To give you an idea, we added a whole series of market analysis and facts on biking and biking habits. We added 3 books on building habits, plus a booklet on building habits, a full literature review, 120 different AI prompts collecting data on the marketplace. And for us, the market was the Belgian market. We had successes and failures around the world, and we had about 1,500 ideas. The people working in the sprint worked together, but they had the GPT as a backup, which allowed them to test out ideas. And what you can see is they're able to work faster, better. They can test ideas, they can get feedback. They can do all the types of things that you want to do more effectively. So once you got this done, you want to test out your GPT and you want to see if it's actually giving you reasonable results. The problem with AI is each time you do things, it gives you a different answer. But if you try out these questions, for example, I've got a new team member joining, give me a 500-word briefing. It'll tell you if it's understood what you want to do. You might say, look, give me a project planning. This is something I want to do over 4 weeks. Give me a week-by-week plan. Tell me the risks that are there. Tell me the stakeholders. This whole process leads you to the point where you have a team member ready to join your team. But it also is a process which forces you to clarify what you're doing. And for me, it's a great way to start any project because you have 3 things at the start. 1, you have an extremely clear challenge that everybody agrees on. You have a pile of ideas delivering on their innovation challenge, and you have a GPT that runs together with you. Now, how difficult is it? It's pretty easy in terms of the time it takes to make it. Expertise, not complex. Time, a very basic one is a couple hours. An advanced one, it depends. And the risks, well, if it doesn't do what it's supposed to, you would lost a couple hours of your life. But up until now, we've made about 70 or 80 of these, and we've had 0 failures so far. But now what I want to show you something cool. First, you don't need us to do this. You can follow the steps. You can do this step by step, pretty straightforward. What we add to the process here is expertise on defining your challenge and some powerful tools. And some people have told us, even though I'm sick today, that we're fun to work with. I think it's true. What we've done also is we've created an innovation toolkit, which has a total of 259 tools, 6 apps, and now 25 different GPTs. And what we can do is we can use this toolkit and help you generate the things that you want to do quick and easy. You run a few hundred of prompts in a few minutes, but they're also the right prompts. They're things that have been tested. Let me show you what we've got there. The first thing we have is building market understanding. You put in some basic information on your marketplace. What are your objectives? What are you selling? What is your core job to be done? It runs 31 prompts. It gives you a McKinsey level market analysis and about 50 to 75 pages of insights to make your objectives clear. There's a quote I love from Albert Einstein. He said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, my life depended on it, I'd spend 55 minutes finding the right question and 5 minutes solving. A second part of the toolkit is focused on clarifying the challenge. It gives you hundreds of different ways to reframe and rethink your challenge. Sometimes when you write the challenge differently, the solution is a lot easier to find. The third thing we have is the ideation method. So we have a whole bunch of idea building tools, the things that build ideas better than humans. You select a method, you fill in your target, which is the true north, click on insights, and what you'll get is you'll get ideas that pop out at lightning speed. Typically, for one innovation challenge, we will have somewhere between 700 and 1,500 ideas. And what we get out of that is new ideas. There's also a short listing within the AI and a merging and recombination that puts it all together. So what you've got, step-by-step process. You can go through, do everything step by step by step by step. What we add in the process is deeper strategy and better targets, better ideas and more ideas, and some work on creating the instructions. As I talked about before, there's 3 options. Option number one, the simplest one, is do it yourself. You have the instructions, you have the prompts. The only investment you make is your time. There's no guarantee it'll work, but it should. Second, we're going to be doing a series of workshops, one in Europe and one in the US. What's included is we give a training, but we also give access to the toolkit to generate the ideas. The introductory pricing is $449, and we're going to be doing a money-back guarantee. The last version of this is we do it together, one by one. You can do this anytime. This is actually fairly hard work. If you're going to go through this strategic analysis, we charge 3,000 euros. For a while, we're going to do this for 2,000. If we do a sprint together, this is included as part of the sprint. And we do 1 day, day and a half, and 2.5 day sprints. And we can use the GPT as a backbone for the sprint, but we also have the tools that help you through things step by step. Now, if you want the slides from this talk, they're available. I'm going to give you the link. I see there haven't been too many questions. Either it's really clear or it's not clear at all. Um, and boop, boop, boop. Very clear. That's good. So what you have to go forward, and here I'm hoping there's going to be some questions. There is a feedback form. If you fill that in, I can know whether it was clear or not, whether it was memorable, whether it was useful, so on and so forth. If you fill that in, what you'll do is you will get some free stuff. You will get information about me, whether you like it or not. You'll get some information about courses and certifications, a link to the toolkit that I showed you here, and a link to my book, which we're updating right now. You'll also get the slides from the talk. You will get a video of the talk. You will get all the prompts that we're using in the talk. And you will get the chapter from the book. All you need to do is click there and you get it. So what do you need to remember from this? It looks complicated, but it's actually pretty easy. And we can help you make it better than you could possibly imagine. If you want, set up a time with me. There's a feedback survey, get some free stuff, connect with me on LinkedIn. And my hope is somebody's going to ask some difficult questions. That would be my preference. If anybody's willing to do that, that would make the day fun. Questions for people.
I have a question from Vito.
Yeah, hold on. Let me do this.
So this is really incredible. I've made a number of the custom GPTs myself. I'm an attorney, so I've been really focusing on making GPTs for legal related issues, and it's incredible what you've come up with to be able to generate ideas. And I think the large language models seem to do a really good job of simulating intelligence, and part of that is because of the way that they're structured. I think the thing that benefits the simulation of creativity for coming up with new ideas is also the problem that I've been running into, which is when you need an exact answer to a question, for example, a case site, or I've already loaded different cases into a custom GPT, asked on testing it, asked it to basically produce a summary brief, and because of hallucination, it ends up creating cases that don't exist, sites that don't exist. And so I've wondered to what extent the solution that you have here would be appropriate for those types of use cases where you need a very specific answer, not the creativity of ideas, which you certainly have that nailed down. But is there a way to limit the creativity in situations where it's not appropriate? And I'll just let you talk.
I know, but I think it's a good question. Some people say hallucination from AI is a bug, and some people say it's a feature. If you're looking for innovation, the fact that it hallucinates and makes up new ideas is probably a positive thing. In your specific case, Vito, I think I'd have a really hard time making something for a legal case which allows you to guarantee with accuracy that the things that are there are useful. However, we have used this for a sprint which we're looking at circumventing a patent. So in fact, it was a 2-day sprint looking at how do we get around a patent restriction. And the stuff that came out of it was truly amazing. But you have to double check it. And so the answer to your question, probably not the easiest in a legal context. You can fix it a little bit, but give it a shot. What do you got to lose? A couple hours of your life. Christian, I see you got a question up there.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your talk. It was really interesting. I've got the question how you'd evaluate the quality of ideas or of answers in a way, because this is what I'm struggling most. in a way. You can usually, or I'm playing around with various prompts and contexts and all different kinds of solutions, but really evaluating, like in a score, the answers of multiple yeah, generations. This is the hard thing.
Christian, I can give you a solution there.
Okay.
It's outside the scope of this talk, but I can tell you how we've come up to it. So if you ask AI to evaluate its ideas, it's sort of okay. What we did in terms of evaluating ideas is we created personas.
Mm-hmm.
And we create, for example, 10 different personas to evaluate the ideas. And then we evaluate the ideas in bulk and we average across the personas. And what we're looking for is extreme examples, because in fact, good ideas are actually really positive for some people and really negative for people. And it's the persona functionality which actually can allow you to use AI to effectively evaluate ideas. If you want, reach out to me. I can show you some of the stuff that we've done. I can also suggest you try out a demo with a company called Synesthesia. They're doing research with synthetic users. And actually, the numbers are truly amazing. And in fact, what you're finding is, in fact, that the AI responses tend to be more consistent and more useful than the humans answering the same questions.
Actually, I need to admit, I posed this question to many people, but your answer is definitely the best I heard so far. Cheers. I'll definitely
Cool.
reach out.
Yeah,
Cool.
but Patrick, you got a question up on top.
Yeah. My question is with regard to bias. Um, a lot of the AI models are plagued with biases that are built right into our society,
Yeah.
and it's built right into all the data from which the models are trained. Have you built into your filtering systems anything that deals with biases, whether it's gender bias, or age bias, or ethnic bias?
So,
Um,
so so it's actually Patrick. It's kind of interesting. My cousin just sent me a study talking about AI. I'm way left on the scale. My cousin is way right on the scale, and he said, "Look, all your AI stuff is all the stuff on the left." And actually, he's right. There is bias because, in fact, the people that tend to write a lot tend to have a certain perspective, and the way that AI is trained is based on the data that's available. The way that you get around this is actually coming back and keeping your brain on and doing a reality check when you're looking at the results. And, to be honest with you, a liberal idea generation or a conservative idea generation can both be valid. It doesn't mean that because of my political stance, I'm less able than my cousin is able to do it. And so you have to be aware of the bias, but live with it. If you're working with a team in your company, there's bias as well. And I think you just have to keep things. The most important thing I've learned working with AI until now is the need to keep your brain on when you're working with the AI. If what you do is you say the AI is giving me the answer, you are going to go down the garden path and you're going to go the wrong way really fast. What you have to do is keep your brain cells on, keep questioning, keep checking things out. Good question, by the way, Patrick. And I wish I could give you a better answer, but I think the models are going to be biased for the foreseeable future.
Just as a follow-up, the you were talking about the synthetic users and the personas.
Yep.
Is it possible, or do you foresee it being a possibility of creating multiple personas in a way that they could mitigate or eliminate certain biases? And is that something that you would build into your system in the future?
And when we run a sprint, one of the things we do is we actually take ideas and we evaluate them by around 10 to 15 different personas. And those personas run all the gamut within the company. There's the CFO, the CEO, the HR director, and actually what you do is by using those for feedback and then using them to generate ideas back, you get a really good cross-section of ideas, better than if you just asked AI itself. But it comes back to the beginning. You remember looking for the gift for my wife? You're trying to trick the AI to think differently. You're trying to put it in a different context. When you put it in a different context, it will give you different answers. Cool. Nigel, I see. Where did you go, Nigel? Nigel was one of my case studies here. You're up on top, Nigel. Are you still on? Okay. So Nigel was the guy who was actually starting on a new job, and we worked together to create a GPT. So how would you?
I'm still here, Bryan.
How did it work for you? Was it good or is it bad?
To be honest, I haven't been able to use it just yet. It's my forte, so there's a lot of information coming my way, but I'm definitely going to use it in the future because, yeah, it really helped me. I mean, we sat together, but before we sat together, I mean, I used your tools, and like I said, in 2 hours, I was able to build a first custom GPT. So no, I was very excited about it. Yes.
So what I think is most interesting in this process, actually, you learn as you're building this and you're storing the learning someplace. So one of the things that happens if all your people in your team are reading stuff and they all read it and they put it together, but actually what you're doing is you're taking all the stuff you're reading and you're uploading and making it available to everybody. So you make a central resource. It's like the intern that has an IQ of 160, has no practical sense, but remembers everything. That's your GPT in the group. Okay. Cool. Let me see if I get, there's some questions here on the notes. So I see things here. You mentioned 80 GPTs. If anybody wants them, happy to share them with you. In fact, what I'll do is I will put them in the link so that you can get them when you provide feedback. Did you use AI to digitize the whole innovation process, not just ideation? Yes. In fact, idea building is the easiest thing in innovation today. It is not the most important thing. The most important things are what you do before the ideation, defining what the question you want to ask. And secondly, is the ability to evaluate what you come back with. AI makes it really easy to generate ideas. It used to be the heroes were the idea makers, and now the heroes are the people who can combine and evaluate ideas. And also the other thing we have in the process is we made a pitch maker, we made a systemic review, a whole bunch of stuff. Cool. Is LLM able to come up with something completely new? Bastian, that is a very good question. Can AI come up with something new? The answer is no. Actually, AI is going to build things based on a recombination of existing ideas. But there is a funny fact, which one of you might not know about. 97% of patents that are issued in the world are for ideas that exist already. So AI can create 97% of the patents. It's not going to create the 3%, which are new. It's not going to come up with an idea for a computer. It's not going to find a way for Putin to behave. It's not going to do other things that are there. So the answer is yes and no. Personas are the key. Bastiana, Triz is amazing. God, boom. God, lots of good comments here. That's going to be good. So my request to you guys is if you're willing to take 5 minutes, tell me what you remember from this talk. There is a feedback link. I do these. The primary reason I did this today was to get feedback for the chapter, which we're finishing up right now. And also, if somebody wants to do this, is come to the course we're running and do the other stuff. But I'd love to get your feedback. So that's it, guys. Noting you have a last question. You'll be the last one up.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Bryan, to see you again. I always enjoy your great sessions. sorry that I don't catch up so often. Did you have a comparison of custom GPT tools? I was just also placing this to friends. Like, I mean, custom GPTs is mainly synonym for OpenAI GPTs, and I heard that Gemini is also offering a solution. Did you hear about other good solutions, or do you even know a comparison where GPTs tools, different tools
So
are compared?
So noting at the beginning of this, we listed
Yeah.
8 different solutions from different suppliers.
Ah,
If you want, you get the things back. But let me
okay.
tell you the bottom line. For me, ChatGPT is like the Swiss Army knife. It's not perfect, but it gets everything done. And the fact that you can share the GPTs unlimited within your teams is also a really positive thing. Gemini has an advantage where the GPTs that you build can hold a lot more data and indexes much more data. Perplexity, the same type of thing. So trade-offs, but the reality is all of these work and they're coming together and pretty much doing the same thing. If I was going to make a recommendation to you, I would use ChatGPT because it's the easiest, the simplest, and you can share it with everybody. So
Okay. Thanks for that.
was,
I missed that at the beginning.
yeah, no, but if
Thank
you
you so much.
feedback, you get the slides. Happy to send it over to you. So that
Happy
was
to do that.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I was a bit low energy. I'm about to go to my bed because I'm sitting here with flu, but I enjoyed doing the talk and I appreciate your time and energy coming today. Thank you very much.